What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today I've got a banger for you guys. It was yesterday while I was eating dinner that this video idea came to me, and I guess it was a pretty humbling thought that came to me, but I was thinking back to when I was serving time, some of the craziest things that I ate while serving time in an effort to be able to survive serving time. Now, for anybody who has ever served time before, thinking back to it, have you ever eaten anything that was just, crazy, possibly even embarrassing to a certain degree? The craziest thing that you ever ate while serving time, it sounds a little nefarious right there, but we are going to keep this above board, and trust me when I tell you, the things that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, they are pretty damn crazy. You know, when you're locked up, you're probably going to find yourself from time to time doing things that you would never do any other time. And that sounds pretty bad as well. Almost like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Sometimes what happens in jail and prison stays there as well. But think about it. Where and when else would you ever find yourself showering around a bunch of naked grown men? The YMCA, the gym, maybe there, but under most circumstances, you're not going to be trying to shower around no other butt-naked dudes. I guess maybe if you play sports, there's a possibility there as well, too. But I mentioned that to you guys because I just want that to emphasize, when you're serving time, you're going to have to do certain things in an effort to be able to survive that time, get through that time as comfortably as you possibly can. Maybe associating or dealing with somebody who you would not probably ever deal with in the free world, somebody that you don't like. Maybe it's a cellmate, or maybe it's some sort of a loud and obnoxious guy. Maybe you might have to pay for protection. Good chance that you might have to fight as well, but again, in prison, you're going to have to do certain things, and these things you might not be proud of, you might not like. And all of that brings us to the potential that you could find yourself eating some pretty crazy things just in an effort to be able to kill the hunger pains and be able to survive and sleep through the damn night. And I myself definitely ate some pretty crazy things, borderline embarrassing to share with you guys, but I think also insightful at the same time, and that's what we're getting ready to talk about here today. And with that, I hope that this is something you're going to enjoy. Not all the time while you're serving time are you going to find yourself being able to go to commissary and have certain luxuries like the Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams, your white girls, your icy white honey buns, your chips, sodas, crackers, soups, candy bars, or any other food item that you can purchase from commissary. And in those times when you're not making commissary, maybe you're in the hole for one reason or another. And a lot of times while in the hole, you're not going to be able to get commissary unless it's hygiene items. You could find yourself eating some pretty wild things. Such as something that I've shared here on After Prison Show a very long time ago, something that I ate while serving time in the hole. I was in the hole this one particular time for 2 months, could not go to commissary at all. Had no type of food items whatsoever. Actually, I had one thing, now that I think about it. I'm going to share that too. I don't even know how I got this in the hole because you're not allowed to have food items. Maybe they left this in there with me just as some sort of like a psychological game, thinking, what are you going to be able to do with that because you've got nothing else to use it with. But when I was serving 2 months in the hole, I was in the jail, still waiting to go to trial. The worst time that you could be in the hole, when everything is still up in the air and you're really not trying to be alone and by yourself with nothing but time to think about things, how, maybe, what if, all of that being enough to drive you crazy. But while I was in the hole, they actually left in my possession one of the very few things that they left me with, a tub of cheese. And sometimes when you're in the hole, you're not exactly getting the best type of trays. Sometimes those trays can be dropped on the ground. Sometimes those trays are super slack in terms of the portions that they're giving to you. But for whatever the reason, you're going to find yourself a hell of a lot more hungry when you are back in isolation. So it ain't no stretch of the imagination to think that while I was back there, I ate this entire tub cheese with nothing else. Just a spoon or my finger. God, I wish I had something to mix with this. God, this cannot be life. Now, I didn't eat this entire thing in one sitting. I tried to stretch this out for as long as I possibly could. I mean, imagine being out in the wilderness, out in the woods. You're lost in the forest somewhere and all you got is a damn tub cheese. You know damn well you're gonna be eating that, but not just eating it, trying to ration it to the best that you possibly can. And when the trays did come, I could have taken this cheese and spread it across the meat rock brake pad or cow tongue or whatever else they were serving in an effort to try to make that food taste better, but I couldn't. I needed this for late at night when those hunger pains were creeping up on me and you can't even sleep. You know, sometimes you can get so hungry that you can't even sleep. And that's the worst type of hungry to be. Hungry and tired. So during those times, I would find myself eating either a scoop or a finger of this cheese. And you know, you really don't want nobody to see you doing this. You know, can you imagine being locked in a cell, you got your fingers all up in this cheese, cheese might be all over your face, except you're really not gonna be wasting it, and a guard walks by? You know, maybe I should have let a guard see me eating this tub cheese straight to the face, and maybe they would have had some kind of pity on me, but I seriously doubt that that would happen. I was back in the hole for 2 months during this time. This tub cheese probably lasted me all but about a week, maybe a little bit longer. I can't honestly remember. You know, you ain't no convict unless you've eaten a tub cheese straight to the face for survival while serving time. Any of y'all ever done that? I cannot be the only one. Am I really that weird? I just look this way. I know I need a haircut. I'm thinking about getting some dreads. Maybe like Lil Weezy. Definitely one of the craziest things that I ever ate to survive while locked up. Oh my God, she's everywhere. Moving on, other crazy things that I ate to survive, and I want to stick with this particular time of me serving time in the hole. It doesn't just have to be those 2 months that I was speaking about. Anytime that you're serving time in the hole, the name of the game is going to be rationing. Whatever comes on the tray, you're going to be trying to wrap that up, whatever you're not trying to eat right then, and save that for later. But sometimes the guards are going to come in and do a cell search after they collect the trays to make sure you ain't hoarding nothing. I ever tell you about the time that I was working in the kitchen? I know I did, but I want to share it again. I was working in the tray room. We had to pop the tops off the trays. They didn't look like this. They were 5-piece trays. You had your bottoms, 2 compartments, and then 2 lids. And I'll never forget this one time working in the tray room. What you would do is you would slide and slam the tray into the little partition of the sink, boom, and that would pop the lids off. It kind of made the job a little bit more easy. And I'll never forget this time that one of these trays got slid. Boom! Lids popped off. This was coming from isolation. Up inside of them compartments, dookie everywhere. And when it hit and them lids came flying off, it was like somebody ejected out of an F-16. Boom! Like a little dookie bomb going off right there in the tray room. I'm not gonna say whether it was me or not that got covered in that dookie. That was pretty disgusting, but, you know, getting back to what we were talking about, you know, being able to hoard things off of the tray definitely gonna be, you know, pretty crazy. You might be just wrapping up a slice of bread or maybe a slice of prison cake if you're fortunate enough to get that, maybe some cookies, maybe a sandwich. I'll tell you, one of the most opportune times to be getting food to hoard for later while you're in isolation. What is it? Is it breakfast? Is it lunch? Is it dinner? It is definitely breakfast. A lot of times breakfast comes super early in the morning, so you're gonna be trying to sleep as much time as you possibly can while in isolation. You wake up, you get that tray, you wrap everything up, you put the tray back out there, you go back to sleep, and now you can eat your breakfast around lunchtime. And then you save your lunchtime for around dinner time, and then your dinner, you got you a little late night snack. That actually is one of the best ways to be able to survive serving time in isolation when you can't get no other food. Sometimes that's not easy. You might not be able to sleep. You might have dudes screaming and yelling. They might come in there and force you to be awake, taking your mat up out of there. And then again, can't emphasize this enough, possibly coming in there and searching for hoarded food, AKA what they'll consider contraband. Moving on to probably one of the most crazy items that I ever ate to survive prison. This one is definitely embarrassing. I don't recommend anybody doing this. I question whether or not anybody else has done this, is doing this. I've shared this before 5 years ago here on After Prison Show. One of the craziest things that I ever ate to survive, this right here. Toothpaste. Now, you can't eat very much of this because I'm pretty sure this is not good for you at all. What's it got in it? Like fluorine? Fluoride? Probably a list of other things as well that don't make this all that good. But I'll never forget being in isolation, not being able to hoard food for one reason or another. Maybe it was because there wasn't enough food coming on the tray as it was. Late at night, getting me a little dabo of the toothpaste and rubbing that on my gums like it was some fire pow pow. For whatever the reason was, maybe it was a more mental thing than anything. I don't even think that this has any kind of bearing to actually fulfilling your hunger, but for whatever the reason, when I would get me a little dab of the toothpaste, drink me a couple of cups of water right behind that, it was probably the water now that I think about it. It would temporarily do what I needed it to do, make my stomach stop hurting because it was so empty. There's an old saying while serving time, you feel like your stomach's touching your back. You're that damn hungry. If I was ever trapped in the wilderness, all I would need is a tub cheese and a tube of toothpaste, and I could probably make it up out of that situation. Nothing else. I don't even need no clothes. Actually, I probably would. And you know, that was one of the things that came to mind last night as I was eating dinner, thinking about, you know, here I am, I'm eating a good meal. Me and my wife prepared this. I was grilling, she was cooking some other things. And I was thinking about that time being in isolation, eating toothpaste. My oh my, I'm certainly glad and grateful for the fact that I've been able to get so far beyond all of that. Let's go ahead and move on to something else. Now, I ate this. Not in isolation. I don't think I ever had the opportunity to eat this while in isolation, but I specifically remember eating this while in the jail for the 25 months that I was in there waiting to get my time and then go to prison. Now, during this time, it was $3 a day to be in this jail, an absolute crazy amount of money that they charged to house you there, considering if your loved ones or anybody sent you money, they were taking $21 a week off tops. And God forbid you owed any sort of a balance, they weren't leaving you nothing. I think the rule was no matter what got sent to you, they had to leave you at least $5. So can you imagine if your loved ones send you $100, but you owe $100 or more to the jail, and they only leave you with $5? Folks, in the jail, commissary is more expensive than anywhere else. Ramen soups can go anywhere for $1 or more. So what are you really getting for a whole $5? Maybe a bar of soap, a couple of stamps? You wouldn't even have enough left to get a bag of coffee with that. But during this time when I was in the jail, 25 months, no commissary, no support whatsoever, was completely Tom Hanks castaway in this situation. Tattooing was my only means of survival. And again, you're in a situation where people don't have a hell of a lot of money. The jail's taking almost everything. So, you know, I'm doing damn near whole back pieces for like $5 or $10. And because of the fact that I wasn't able to charge a lot for this tattoo work, and I really wasn't even that good, you know, to be honest with you, even if I was good, I mean, you still can't charge but what people are able to afford. You've got to be really strategic with the items that you're asking those folks to get you. I rarely had the opportunity to be able to get the honey buns or the cookies or the candy bars were out of the question. But I like sweets. When you're serving time, you want sweets. You want to get some sweets. I couldn't afford to get the sweets, so what I would do and what I was eating were these right here. Not sure if the white balance is blowing this out and you can't see what this is, but this is a Swiss Miss pack. Milk chocolate hot cocoa mix. In the jail, these already came prefabbed with the sugar included, and I wasn't getting these to be able to make hot cocoa. Okay, you can't snuggle up with your little sweater vest and, you know, a nice warm cup of the cocoa while in jail. You got to be on some straight convict time, straight survival. So instead of making hot cocoa, I would be eating this mix right up out the pack. Now, when I was a kid, I did this as well. So this isn't really that crazy, but being a grown man in prison, well, not in prison, in jail, eating this to try to quench that sweet tooth, this was crazy and also embarrassing. You can't let nobody walk by and see you eating a Swiss Miss pouch. Maybe in other places people do that. It's a normal thing to do, but I just felt weird about this. I never wanted anybody to see me eating this because I felt like, you know, maybe they'll think that I'm soft. That probably isn't too much of a stretch of the imagination, so this probably wouldn't have helped or hurt the matter all that much. You ever ate a Swiss Miss pouch in an effort to be able to survive jail or prison? If you have, you a straight up OG and a convict for real. Maybe you are. Just seeing these little packs right here brings back the memories. Now, you wouldn't eat one of these entirely in one sitting. You could kind of like dab on this a little bit, take a little bit of that mix, wipe it all over your teeth. You wonder why my teeth are so yellow as it is. This probably didn't help matters. But one of these packs up inside of the jail, I believe this was over 50 cents, probably more like 75, 80 cents a pack, damn near $1. And with times being so hard, you had to stretch this. One of these packs could probably last me, I don't know, at least a week. Because if you ate too much of this, it kind of upsets your stomach. You get the bubble guts. Hey, yo, Sally! Hey, I gotta use the bathroom. Sheets going up. You need anything? I got to go now. You don't ever want to eat this on lockdown and get them bubble guts because then you just got to do what you do. Carry on a philosophical conversation with your cellmate about Wednesday, 4:55 p.m. I think that's the time when Elon Musk and SpaceX is launching their first astronauts into space. Going to the space station, I can't wait for that. That's tomorrow. I'm a super space geek. Don't know why I got on that. Oh yeah, talking about having to talk to your cellie while using the bathroom. Sometimes I had to do that. It was the only way I could get jiggy with it. Another thing that you ain't gonna be doing out here in the free world, you ain't gonna be doo-dooing around no other person right next to them, carrying on a conversation, maybe even playing a game of chess. Checkmate. That's gonna cost you that whole roll of toilet paper. I don't care if you ain't used it yet, that's mine now. Crazy times, crazy times. Hope I don't ever got to experience those again. And with the mention of Swiss Miss hot cocoa mix, and that kind of being almost like a, I don't know, sort of like a condiment, I guess, we ought to mention a couple of different condiments that you could find yourself eating to survive jail or prison. Such as a jelly pack. Oftentimes could, maybe it will, come on the breakfast tray. If you're in isolation and you ain't got nothing else, trust me when I tell you, you're gonna be saving that jelly pouch, eating that joint later for dessert. I've done it many a times. If it ain't a jelly pouch, it could be a pack of sugar. If you're wondering, I have definitely eaten a few packs of sugar in my time. Straight diabetes. But you ain't even worried about that when you're serving time because you're barely getting anything sweet, especially if you're in isolation. Have you ever eaten a straight jelly pack or straight sugar pack? Nobody has. I'm the only one. Salt, on the other hand, not so much. Yeah, I've seen people dab with the salt just a little bit to, if they ain't got no bag of chips, maybe they'll get some salt, but you don't see that all that often. Maybe if somebody lost a bet and they've got to eat like a whole spork of salt, that's gonna hurt you. I've seen dudes eat the ramen noodle seasoning pack because they've got nothing else. And if you don't want to eat that by itself, that's just a little too weird for you. And I've done this. I have never eaten the ramen noodle seasoning pouch by itself, but I've definitely taken that pouch, mixed it up with some water, put it up in the microwave, and I wanted anybody to see me doing that. Yeah, that's right. I'm making chicken broth. Hey, you got a soup I can get? I mean, you see the type of times I'm dealing with right now. You ain't got no soup. Not only have I eaten the broth from a ramen noodle during tough times, but it's also a good remedy if you're ever sick up in a jail or prison. Maybe you got a sore throat. If you got a sore throat in prison, that's a bad look, but it's gonna happen. Heating you up that ramen noodle seasoning pouch, that chicken ramen noodle seasoning pouch with some water, it's gonna be the closest thing that you're gonna get, unless you've actually got a ramen noodle soup. Speaking of ramen noodle soups, and I feel like there was some other condiments that I wanted to mention. Oh, I think that was everything. Syrup. Some guys might eat syrup. Butter. Ain't nobody really eating butter unless you're trying to get an insanity plea. Paper. Same situation. Nobody's really eating paper unless they are batshit crazy or going for the insanity plea or they've lost some sort of a bet. Betting in prison can have some detrimental consequences. It doesn't always have to be commissary items that are getting wagered. You ever seen a grown man do the Beyonce up in prison because he lost a bet? Bouncing his little booty on the top of a chair or table? I had to do it a couple of times. Some damn patriots, man. A ramen noodle soup. We've talked about this here before in the past. And this might not sound like the craziest thing to eat. This is something that you're definitely going to be eating if you've got the added affordability and luxury to be able to eat this. But sometimes, you're tired of soups. If you've ever served time, you know damn well you can get real tired of these things, especially when you're getting released. A little FYI, maybe something that I haven't really ever talked about here. When I came home from prison, I didn't eat a ramen noodle soup for probably almost a year. I did not even want to see no more of these. 7 years of soups? You'd be tired of these too. And there's only 10 different ways that you can prepare this thing. We did a big video a couple of years ago, the top 10 ways to make ramen noodle soups in prison. If you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. But one of the ways that I talked about was not even cooking this at all, crushing this up, because you ain't got no Doritos or no Lay's potato chips or no whole shebang or no corn chips up in your locker. Crush this up. Open this up. Pull out that survival pack. That's like a first aid kit in prison. Tear off just the corner. You don't want the whole thing torn off because that's going to mess the whole thing up. Open up that seasoning pouch and then just sprinkle you why is that not? It's all congealed. Sprinkle you a little bit of that up in there. There we go. Mix that money up. And you got you some prison Doritos. Tell you what it tastes like. Tastes like a raw ramen noodle with half a chicken seasoning pouch on it. This brings me back. This also makes me never want to get locked up again. You know, it also makes me wonder, don't steal my idea, why the hell don't they have ramen noodle chips? These would be a hit. I'm about to send an email to Doritos as soon as we get done with this video. We're almost done with this video. I know this is probably a little bit longer than, well, it's longer than I wanted to make it, so I'm going to run through these last 2 items real quick. There's probably more items that I can't even remember, but I wanted to share with you guys what I considered and what I could remember, the craziest items that I ever ate to survive prison. I hope I've done a good job of that. I hope you've enjoyed this video thus far. 2 more items, the first being, just like that tub cheese, peanut butter by the spoonful. If you ain't got nothing else up in your locker and all you got is a tub of peanut butter and a spoon, you're gonna be walking around licking that spoon like it's a damn popsicle or a lollipop. This can definitely help with the hunger pains and also leave you pretty thirsty as well. Now, if you eat too much of this, you're gonna find yourself not being able to doo-doo. I can't tell you how many times I ate too much peanut butter and I couldn't dookie for like 14 days. By the time I finally could, it felt like I was going into labor. Probably a little too much information right there. I apologize, but peanut butter, definitely a crazy item. Eating it by itself that you can use to help you get through the time. And I said that there was 2 items left. I'm gonna make it 2 more. I'm gonna include both of these together. Look. You know, certain times while locked up, you don't have to be in isolation. You're in Gen Pop. You're a little short on money. Your loved ones or your girlfriend or your pen pals not coming through quick enough with the money. You're going to find yourself with maybe 1 or 2 or a few items up in your locker. Nothing really all that great by itself. Most of these are like meal cooking items. And sometimes you can't just take, you know, that one item without nothing else to the table and expect to get in on a prison meal. Maybe you don't want to. Whatever the case, you could find yourself with prison meal items by their lonesome, where you might be in a situation where you're so hungry that you might be willing to eat that item by itself, such as a pickle. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say this, and I know it's gonna sound pretty messed up, but shouldn't no grown man be eating no pickle by itself up in no prison? It is a bad look, especially if you ain't chopping that joint up and you just eating that joint whole and straight to the face. Sometimes these pickles are humongous. Now, you don't have to just be eating this because it is a survival item or because you're so hungry. Maybe you got a taste for the pickle. Prison's the wrong place to be having that. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually the most opportune. And I'm not going to tell you guys whether or not I ever took a pickle to the face in prison. Actually, I probably don't need to. You can probably imagine what the answer to that is. But just like a pickle, you could use a summer sausage the same way. I've seen dudes who eat the summer sausage just by itself. Now, one thing you definitely don't want to do, you don't want to be taking, you know, Ritz crackers, chopping that sausage up and eating that with some block cheese chopped up real nice, because that is just going to be giving other prisoners all the wrong ideas. Damn, you fancy. How you able to have you a cheese board in prison? You doing too much. You doing way too much. But sometimes you might be left with either a pickle or a tub cheese or a tub of peanut butter or a summer sausage. And you ain't got nothing else, ain't nobody else cooking, maybe nobody in the block or the housing unit has got any commissary. It's hard times for everybody. Maybe late night, you're waking up in the middle of the night, starving, stomach touching your back, trying to dig up in your locker so quietly. You don't want to wake nobody else up. You don't want nobody to see what you're about to do. And you're going to pop that top to that pickle. Shh. Don't let nobody hear. And you're going to have the worst pickle breath in the block. Whole block's about to smell like vinegar. But potentially, you might not be hungry no more. Hey, look, that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. And also, what do you think is the craziest item that you could eat up in prison? What's the craziest item you've ever eaten if you've ever been locked up in either jail or prison? Comment down below. I would definitely like to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day.